Caseus, Jedi Apprentice. Chapter 6. The following 2 days, Caseus thought about what Sarah had said. He was unsure whether or not they would have any chance at solving a conspiracy that even experienced masters couldn't solve. Still, he knew in his heart that something was wrong. Someone or something was keeping this investigation from getting anywhere. He wondered if he should tell Master Takai. Then again, she had about as many answers as he did. He went over the possible outcomes in his head. On the one hand, if they could find even the slightest hint of evidence as to who was behind these attacks, they could bring this information before the council, and they would be one step closer to ending this nightmare. On the other hand, if something went wrong, they might not live to see the culprit brought to justice. Suppose it was Trandoshans involved in these attacks. Trandoshans were fierce killers, not to be trifled with, even by experienced Jedi. If they were to have any chance at all, stealth would be their only real option. And even if they did find credible evidence, the amount of trouble they would get in for carrying out such a dangerous operation would be astronomical. At this point, Caseus decided that he had two options. Wait for the masters to find out what was happening and risk the possibility of an even more deadly attack, or risk expulsion from the Order, or death in an attempt to stop it themselves. Neither option sounded appealing, but he knew Sarah would be demanding an answer by the end of the day. Caseus went to his morning lessons with Master Takai, trying to meditate, trusting that the Force would show him the right path. Master Takai could sense his unease. "You seem troubled, Padawan. Is something on your mind?" "I'm fine, Master. I'm worried about everything going on. Do you think the Council is doing everything in their power to figure out who's behind all this?" "You must trust the Council, Caseus. They have their top investigators looking into every possible lead. Dravok himself has been working day and night without sleep trying to get to the bottom of this mess." "I know. Everyone is telling me to trust the people in charge, but what if it's not enough? I know Dravok is trying, but it's been weeks and we have no leads and no idea when the next attack could be. I don't think we're doing everything in our power." "Caseus, that's absurd." "Is it? Our own temple is no longer a safe place, Master. And I can't shake this feeling that something terrible will happen if we don't act fast. Maybe Dravok could use some help." "If you're suggesting trying to get involved in this investigation, it's out of the question, Padawan. You have neither the skills nor the experience necessary to solve this case." "Well, maybe not. But at least I wouldn't be sitting around waiting for more Jedi to be killed. What if it were me who had died, Master? Would you just continue to meditate and go about your business while my killer was roaming free? Caseus!" Her sudden change in tone silenced Caseus immediately. "Do you think I'm not worried about what's going on? Do you think that I wouldn't be devastated if you had died in that attack? I have raised and trained you day in and day out, not simply because it's my duty to the Order, but because I care about you. I want to see you grow to become a greater Jedi than myself. If you had perished in that attack, I wouldn't have been able to forgive myself." Caseus looked at his master, her head bowed down, silvery white locks of hair cascading over her tan face. Finally, she looked up at Caseus. "One day, Caseus, you too will be a master, training a young student. You'll realize then not only how much your student means to you, but the responsibilities that come with such a position. I need you to understand. I can't have you unnecessarily putting yourself in harm's way. It goes against my duty to you as a master." Caseus looked at her, taking in her words. He knew deep down that everything she did was to keep him safe and to teach him. "Forgive me, Master. I'm just scared. I don't want to lose anyone else." Master Takai walked to Caseus, placing her hands on his shoulders. It's okay, Caseus. We are all concerned. If you can't place your trust in the Council, trust in the Force. Go on now. Our lessons are over. Please think about what I said. I will, Master. Caseus left. His classes with Syndralig and the other students proceeded as normal. Their lessons in Form 3 were growing more difficult and tiring, but Caseus did his best to stick to what he was being taught. By the end of the lesson, Sarah was already waiting for him in the temple corridor. Have you made your decision? Yes. I'm sorry, Sarah. I can't get involved. I don't think you should either. The risks are just too great. We can't take this on ourselves. Sarah frowned. So what? You think we should just sit around and hope this all blows over? I think it's best to let Dravok and his men take care of this. I don't like it either. But I just don't see anything we can do to help. We'd only make things worse. How could things get any worse? Look around, Caseus. No one here has any idea what's going on. And if they do, they don't trust us with the information. I won't sit here and do nothing. If you don't want to help, that's fine. But when we inevitably face another attack, just know that we could have done something about it. What could we possibly do, Sarah? We get ourselves killed. And everything we've been training for would be for nothing. You don't seem to realize how dangerous this is.
Padawans, is everything okay over here?
Master Dravok walked over, looking quite exhausted and carrying a data pad. We're fine. Just having a disagreement.
I can see that. Well, with tensions as high as they are lately, I thought it might be good for you two to know that we have made substantial progress in locating our suspects.
Really? That's great. Who are they?
I'm afraid I can't divulge that information. All I can tell you is that Master Silvios was correct. We have every reason to believe that Trandoshan assassins were hired to carry out these attacks. My men and I believe they are hiding out in the lower levels of Coruscant.
So you're going to find them, right? When can we expect these cowards to be arrested?
Patience, Padawan. There's still a lot we need to figure out before we can do anything.
But these killers are still out there. They could strike at any time.
I assure you that Temple Security has every entrance and exit under constant supervision. They would be fools to try to attack us again. For now, just be thankful that we've made progress in our investigation. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to work.
Dravok walked away, leaving Caseus and Sarah alone once again. See? We don't have to get involved, Sarah. Dravok has the situation under control. It won't be long before we catch those Trandoshans. Are you serious? Look at how long it took just to get this information. Sarah, these things take time. We don't have time, Caseus. While we sit and wait, these killers could be coming up with another plan to kill us. It's only a matter of time until they find a way to get past security and cause more damage. I thought you, of all people, would want to see these creeps brought to justice. But you're just like the others. You're just going to sit around and wait until it's too late. Fine then. You go meditate or something. I'm out of here. Sarah left before Caseus could respond, leaving him alone in the empty corridor. Later that evening, Caseus sat in the archives, trying not to dwell on what Sarah had said. Why did her words bother him so much? He was doing exactly as he was expected, letting the masters handle the investigation. He had nothing to be ashamed of, and yet he still felt like he was in the wrong. Caseus sat in the archives for the better part of 3 hours, studying and learning everything he could about Form 3.
Hey, you okay?
Corbin walked over, sitting next to him. Hey, Corbin. Yeah, I'm fine. Just got a lot on my mind.
Yeah, I hear you. But Dravok says they have a possible lead. I guess that's something.
Yeah, he told us. Corbin, can I ask you something?
Sure. What's up?
You said not too long ago that the Republic's regulations and rules keep us from taking action when it's needed, right?
Yeah. What's your point?
Let's say you knew where to find the guys responsible for what's going on. Would you take action if you felt it was right?
Of course I would. We both know that Dravok and his men are taking way too long to act. When it comes to protecting the Order, I'd do anything I could to preserve it and stop the attacks.
You wouldn't be worried or scared that you might get caught or killed?
Well, yeah, of course I would be. But we're Jedi, Caseus. We have a responsibility to do what's right, even if we're scared.
What would be the right thing to do, though? What would you do if you knew where they were hiding?
I don't know. I'd probably tell the Masters. But if the situation was dire, I'd probably take matters into my own hands. Why are you asking these questions anyway?
I don't know. I guess I'm coming up with scenarios in my head. Maybe I'm just tired and thinking nonsense.
Well, to be fair, you do look pretty tired. Maybe you should go get some sleep. Curfew will be active in less than an hour anyway.
Caseus looked at the time. Yeah, you're right. I'll see you tomorrow, Corbin. Caseus left the archives and began walking to his chambers. As he walked, he spotted Master Dravok speaking in his comlink. Listening in, he could barely make out a few words. Dioxys and 1313. 1313? Is that where they are? Caseus thought to himself. A part of him wondered if he should tell Sarah. No. The last thing he needed was to give her an excuse to leave the temple on what could be a wild bantha chase. He decided to leave the investigation to Dravok and went upstairs to his quarters. Lying down in bed, looking at the distant lights of the city, he couldn't think about anything else except resting. Soon, before he knew it, he was fast asleep. Caseus slept, quiet and still. Caseus was suddenly awoken by a loud blaring alarm. The windows of his room suddenly closed under protective laser shields. This was emergency protocol. Something was wrong. A voice suddenly spoke over the comm system.
This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. All Padawans and students remain in your quarters. All masters report to the main corridor. The temple is under attack. Repeat, the temple is under attack.
Caseus could sense that something terrible had happened. His instincts told him to get out of his quarters and find out what was happening. Without thinking, Caseus grabbed his saber and, using the force, opened his chamber door, rushing down the steps past the meditation chambers and through the temple towards the main corridor by the entrance to the temple. As he neared the temple entrance, he heard blaster fire and explosions and the swinging of lightsabers. He turned the corner just in time to see a large explosion detonate inside the corridor. The force of the blast nearly knocked him off his feet. His vision was blurry from the flash, and his ears were ringing loudly as he activated his lightsaber and rushed forward. A terrible sight in front of him. 5 Jedi, lying on the floor surrounded by flames and debris. And among them... Master! Master Takai lay on the floor, her robe singed and her white hair stained with growing patches of red. Caseus rushed over to her, desperately searching for any sign of life.
Looks like we missed one.
Caseus looked up, seeing a tall Trandoshan in dark black tactical gear, holding a rifle, a devious smile on his face, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. Caseus reached for his lightsaber, only for the assailant to fire at his weapon, blasting it from his hand.
None of that, child.
The Trandoshan aimed his weapon, only for a silvery blue blade to fly out, slicing through the Trandoshan's hand. The creature let out an ear-piercing shriek as Master Takai held out her hand, having thrown her saber to disarm him. Master! She didn't respond. She collapsed once again, the life slowly fading from her as the Trandoshan grabbed his blaster with his remaining hand, pointing it at Caseus.
Die, Jedi!
The blaster fired 2 shots, which were immediately blocked by a deep blue blade, as Dravok rushed in front of Caseus, reaching out with the force and gripping the Trandoshan by the throat, a raspy, gurgling sound escaping his throat. Several masters showed up immediately, holding their sabers at the throat of the creature before apprehending him.
Caseus, get out of here!
No! I won't leave her! 2 temple guards rushed to Caseus, grabbing his arms and dragging him away from the scene, screaming and calling out to his master. They threw him into his room and activated the security doors, keeping him from escaping before running back to the temple entrance. Caseus yelled for them to come back, trying in vain to open the doors to no avail. He was in shock. He couldn't comprehend what had just happened. And there he sat, screaming in anger, throwing his items against the door. Within 20 minutes, 2 guards came to his room.
Where is she? What happened? Be silent, Padawan. Come with us immediately.
The guards escorted Caseus to the council chamber, where Master Drollig stood with Sarah, Corbin, and several other students. Caseus, are you okay? Sarah rushed to him with Corbin in tow.
What happened?
There was an attack. It was the Trandoshans. We need to stop them. Now!
Silence, Caseus. No one is leaving this room until the temple is secure.
No! I need to see my master. She's hurt. She's dying.
The injured are being tended to as we speak. Running off will not accomplish anything.
Caseus yelled and slammed his fist against the wall, tears of anger streaming down his face. Caseus! Sarah put her hand on his back, trying to calm him. Caseus, calm down. It's going to be okay. Caseus looked at Sarah, his eyes filled with pain and sadness as he collapsed with his head buried into her shoulder. Corbin and Sarah both sat by him, comforting him as Master Drollig tended to the younger students. 2 hours passed, and Caseus had finally managed to collect himself enough to tell Corbin and Sarah everything that he saw. Soon, the council door opened, and several guards began escorting the Padawans to a safe location. 3 guards walked to Caseus and his friends, and began to escort them away. As soon as they reached the ground floor, however, Caseus broke free of their hold and ran as fast as he could to the medical bay.
Caseus, stop!
He didn't stop. He ran. He ran as fast as he could until he made it to the medical bay and entered the room where several of the temple doctors were hard at work. Padawan, you cannot be here right now. Caseus paid no attention to the doctor and looked around. There, at the far end of the room, he saw his master, unconscious, being heavily attended to by the medical staff. Caseus ran over, pushing his way through. Master!
Caseus!
Master Drollig ran over and grabbed Caseus, who pulled away and grabbed onto the bedside of his injured master. Please tell me she's going to be okay.
We're doing everything we can, Caseus, but you have to leave.
I can't lose her. Please! Suddenly, a hand reached out and gently touched his. Master Takai's cut and damaged hand softly caressed the hand of her student. Caseus looked at her, tears in his eyes, as Master Drollig grabbed Caseus by his arms and looked him in the eye.
Caseus, we must go now. We need to get you somewhere safe. She's going to be okay. I promise.
Caseus looked back at his master, and then to Sin Drollig, nodding sadly as Master Drollig escorted him out of the medical bay.